On January 1st, 2026, while most of the world was celebrating New Year's, China implemented a regulatory change that will affect the price of nearly everything you buy. And if you haven't heard about it yet, you're not alone. This story got buried in holiday news, which is exactly when the most significant economic shifts tend to happen. Here's what changed and why it matters to your daily life. China, which controls approximately 60 to 70% of global silver refining capacity, introduced new export licensing requirements that took effect at midnight on January 1st. Refiners need to demonstrate 80-ton annual production capacity and maintain $30 million credit lines to qualify for export licenses. These thresholds effectively eliminated 93% of silver refiners worldwide from export eligibility overnight. Before we explain why this matters for your wallet, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. This crisis is developing faster than most people realize, and I'll keep you updated as this unfolds. Trust me, you'll want to follow this story. Think about what just happened. Imagine 93% of gas stations in your country suddenly couldn't sell fuel. That's essentially what occurred in the global silver supply chain. But most people haven't noticed yet because they're not desperately trying to source industrial silver for manufacturing. You're going to notice very soon when everyday product prices start reflecting this supply shock. Silver isn't just an investment commodity, it's the critical component that makes modern technology function. Every smartphone contains silver for electrical connections. Solar panels require silver paste for photovoltaic cells, and there's no substitute that works at comparable efficiency. Electric vehicles use roughly twice as much silver as traditional cars. Data centers powering Netflix and AI applications require massive amounts of silver for electrical conductivity. The scale is staggering. China's restrictions removed approximately 400 million ounces of refined silver from global markets annually. Total worldwide production is roughly 800 to 900 million ounces per year. China eliminated access to nearly half of tradable supply during a week when Western traders were offline, celebrating holidays. The timing wasn't accidental. Between December 27th and January 1st, industrial buyers across electronics, solar, and electric vehicle sectors received identical emails from Chinese suppliers, contract cancellations with immediate effect. Companies that relied on Chinese silver for decades suddenly had no source material and no advance warning. Now here's where this directly impacts your personal finances. If you're planning to install solar panels this year, manufacturers are facing production costs that jumped dramatically. Industry sources report solar companies are revising price quotes upward by 30 to 50% for 2026 projects. A solar installation that cost $25,000 in December might now cost $35,000 by June, if manufacturers can even secure enough silver. If you're shopping for electronics, every smartphone, laptop, and television require silver for electrical connections. Major manufacturers are warning about supply chain constraints affecting production targets. That new phone you're planning to buy might cost 20 to 30% more, or it might not be available because manufacturers couldn't source enough silver. If you're considering an electric vehicle, charging infrastructure depends heavily on silver. The infrastructure programs committed billions toward EV charging networks, but those plans assumed silver at predictable prices. With supply constrained, either networks get delayed or costs get passed to consumers through higher prices. The broader ripple effects touch every sector. Medical devices use silver for antimicrobial properties. Water filtration relies on silver filtration. Photography, imaging, even clothing sometimes uses silver fibers. When a critical commodity becomes scarce, price increases cascade through the entire economy, affecting products you'd never associate with silver. What makes this concerning is the timeline. Unlike temporary disruptions from weather or strikes that resolve in weeks, regulatory restrictions create structural constraints that persist for years. Even if China reversed these requirements tomorrow, which seems unlikely, the damage is done. Contracts canceled, production schedules revised, buyers secured alternatives at whatever prices the market demands. The inventories that might buffer these shocks are depleted. Global warehouse stocks available for immediate delivery collapsed 70% since 2020. What used to represent months of buffer now represents roughly 30 days of demand. When safety inventory is that thin and a major supplier disappears, prices adjust violently and quickly. And here's what makes this crisis different and why smart investors are paying attention. China's export licensing serves multiple strategic objectives. First, they ensure domestic industries have priority access during explosive growth in solar, EVs, and electronics. China produces over 80% of the world's solar panels. By controlling silver refining, they guarantee their industries operate while foreign competitors face shortages and price spikes. Second, it creates economic pressure on industries depending on Chinese supply. Manufacturers in America, Europe, Japan, and Korea suddenly face a choice: either relocate supply chains to China, where silver access guaranteed, or pay dramatically higher prices. This is standard resource nationalism countries employ when controlling materials competitors need. Third, implementing restrictions on January 1st during Western holidays ensured maximum disruption with minimal pushback. Markets were closed, traders were celebrating. By January 2nd, contracts were canceled, regulations in place, and prices driven sharply higher. The mathematical problem is brutal. Global consumption runs 500 to 600 million ounces annually. China's restrictions eliminated 400 million ounces from markets. Maximum replacement capacity from non-Chinese sources, roughly 280 to 330 million ounces annually. That leaves a structural deficit of 70 to 120 million ounces annually that cannot be filled. When supply cannot increase to meet demand, price forces the equation into balance. Industries needing silver to operate will pay whatever necessary. Consumers ultimately bear costs through higher finished product prices. A solar manufacturer facing doubled silver costs either passes costs to homeowners or accepts compressed margins, forcing production cutbacks and layoffs. The timeline for price impacts is specific. Contracts signed in late 2025, assuming $25 to $30 per ounce, are already problematic. When companies sign new agreements, they're facing quotes 50% to 100% higher. Those costs flow to consumer prices with a 3 to 6 month lag. By late spring 2026, consumers will see full impact. Solar installations quoted in March will cost substantially more than December quotes. Electronics launched in Q2 will carry higher prices. Electric vehicles in second half 2026 will reflect increased costs. These aren't predictions, these are mathematical certainties based on how supply chains translate input costs into final pricing. Now here's what many financial experts are saying, and this is important for your financial planning. I'm not a financial advisor, so always consult with professionals before making investment decisions, but I can share what market analysts are observing. When essential commodities face genuine supply shortages with no quick solutions, investors who understand the fundamentals early often position themselves advantageously. Silver isn't just an industrial metal anymore. It's increasingly viewed as a strategic asset during economic uncertainty. Many portfolio managers recommend diversification into tangible assets during periods of supply disruption and inflation. Physical silver has intrinsic value from industrial demand, regardless of financial market performance. Unlike stocks representing claims on future earnings or bonds representing debt promises, physical commodities are simply what they are. If you're interested in learning more about how commodity markets work and how supply disruptions affect investment strategies, I'll be creating more content on this topic. Make sure you're subscribed because understanding these dynamics helps you make informed decisions about your financial future. Whether you choose to invest or not, knowing why prices are moving helps you plan major purchases, understand your job security in industries affected, and anticipate broader economic trends. For those considering solar installations, moving decisions to Q1 before revised pricing fully takes effect might save thousands. For electronics or vehicles, earlier purchases likely offer better prices than waiting until summer. If your job depends on industries consuming silver, understanding supply constraints helps you anticipate potential production impacts. The era of abundant, cheap silver is over. Whether through Chinese restrictions, depleted inventories, or accelerating demand, the market has fundamentally changed. Those changes will flow to consumer prices for thousands of products. Manufacturers scrambling to secure supply at any cost will eventually pass those costs to customers. The silver crisis triggered by China's January 1st restrictions represents a fundamental shift in global supply chains. This isn't temporary. This is structural change affecting manufacturing costs and consumer prices throughout 2026 and beyond. I want to build a relationship with you where I keep you informed about these economic shifts as they happen. If you found this valuable, do 3 things for me. First, hit that like button right now. Second, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss updates on this developing crisis. Third, and this is important, watch another video on my channel about economic trends affecting your finances. The algorithm rewards watch time, and when you watch multiple videos, it helps me reach more people who need this information. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you planning major purchases this year? How is this affecting your decision-making? Let's discuss this together because your insights help everyone in our community understand the real-world impacts. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video where we continue tracking how this unfolds. Remember, knowledge is power, and staying informed gives you the advantage of making decisions before the crowd realizes what's happening.